left at my house. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Going Over podcast for the next 4 or 5 days. What's today? The 15th?
Today is the 15th.
5 more days, and this changes. I am your neighborhood-friendly coach, trainer, promoter, and 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb. And before I introduce my podcast partner, you out there in social media land, you need to start subscribing, hitting that little button, because if you don't, your life is gonna get more difficult than a man having sex with a lady from Boston. Harder. Oh my, harder, do it harder. Hit the subscribe button, huh? Oh yeah. The 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Ho, Paul. How you doing today, pal?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. Enjoying a second day off in a row, which means that I'm going to have to be working the next 5 days. So I'm going to have to finagle getting all the way 75 miles from here on a Saturday for a pro wrestling show in Yerington, Nevada. At the small town Rumble or whatever.
In Yerington.
In Yerington. Hey, and Larry, old ref Larry, the lawman, he said he's got a couple extra beds if we need to crash. So
don't talk dirty to me.
That's right. Well, I told Larry you got to either lay hole to hole or pole to pole. Not pole to hole in that bed. Nuts
to guts. We're just gonna run it nuts to guts. Guess where my hangy thingy's gonna be? You know what I love about Larry, man? At 60 years of age, I like he'll go out to his truck and change, and I feel like it's somebody changing for like what are those things at the Miss Yuba Sutter pageant? You know what I mean? Like. He takes his shirt off, and it's like, I've never seen a 60-plus-year-old man just like checking his abs out in the side paint of a pickup truck. You're just like, come on, Sally, get in the building. It's not modeling time. Speaking of that, it's been a rather awkward week in professional wrestling. I know you don't keep up much. But I started keeping my hand on the pulse. They call me the polar bear on the pulse, baby. And, Seth freaking Rollins, I was talking about this. Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel, he decided that he was not going to do the normal coast to coast with the feet to hit Cody Rhodes. He was going to do a headbutt. And although it was very impressive and it looked good, the fucking moron who's the world champion. CM Punk's now the #1 contender from a 3-way on Monday Night Raw. And this is what we talk about, ladies and gentlemen out there, taking unnecessary risk. Paul taking unnecessary risk because he hurt his shoulder. And if they're fucking with us again like they did last time, then, I mean, whatever. You did it again, cool. But they had Braun Breaker spear him at the end of Monday Night Raw, and then he told Bronson Reed, he said, "Hey, you're either with." He gave him a quick ultimatum too. You're either with me or you're not. Decide right now. And Bronson Reed drug him over to the corner and gave him the tsunami bomb. And then they said the same thing to Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman had to make his choice and raise their arms. So they've broken up what they call the Vision. And this time, I believe this injury, I believe, is real. And it just goes as a reminder, unnecessary risk, but the hazards of this business are real. Can you talk right now? Have you ever had a major injury in your pro wrestling career?
Well, I've had a torn ACL, but it was. Yeah, it wasn't from, well, I don't know if you would say it's taking unnecessary risks, but, Adam used to play quite the heel and he would do the basically kind of like a Triple H, like spitting the water, but intentionally spitting the water onto the fans, which got water onto the floor, and I think he hit me like I think he was. I don't know if he was jumping from the top or if it was just uh, from the apron or whatever, and he was going to cross body me. And when I caught him, my leg just slipped out from under me on the water on the floor. So tore my ACL, but it was one of those things. Like obviously a high caliber athlete. We actually drove to, so that was that brawl in Antioch, and we drove to Portland, Oregon right afterwards, right? And so, I was like icing my knee and just like, it was uncomfortable and things like that. But we went all the way through that trip. So I get back on Monday and I go to the doctor and I say, hey man, I think I fucked up my knee. They did all these tests. They say, nah, it's too structurally sound for anything to be wrong with it. I was like, okay, no problem. Maybe I just tweaked it, whatever. So I go about my business for probably at least a year where I'm just like, man, something is wrong with this, right? There's like clicking and popping and all types of weird stuff happening. But so I go back in there. They do a bunch of tests. They go, you know what? It doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with it. But what we'll do is we'll go in there and we'll scope it, right? So if there's any scar tissue or anything like that, we'll clean that up, and hopefully that'll fix the problem. But when they go in there and they go into this surgery, they show you the camera shots from inside the knee, and there was no ACL at all. So I had to have a cadaver graft to repair that. So and I feel like I was out for 8 or 9 months or whatever it was to heal from the ACL. But it's one of those deals, man. Like I don't feel like I was taking any type of unneeded risk. It was just kind of something that just happened because of circumstance. It wasn't like, oh, this is I don't know, something that's super super duper dangerous, right? I'm catching a crossbody from the apron or something like that. So besides that, man, I feel like I don't take unnecessary risks because I just don't think it's necessary. It's like I feel like you can tell a story without doing crazy stuff like that. And I know there's definitely people that think the opposite of that. It's like, oh, you got to do something big to make an impact, right? Telling a story isn't good enough. You have to, throw someone on a barbed wire spider web, or you have to throw someone through a table or hit someone with fluorescent light tubes or whatever. It has to be like a holy shit moment rather than just telling a good story. And maybe it leads up to something where a risk is taken, somebody falls through a table, somebody whatever, gets hit with a chair or something, where very impactful, memorable moment where people are like, holy shit, like I can't wait to see what happens next time. And case in point, there was a chair shot at the last show that people are wondering, where does this lead? There was a somebody getting fucked over for the Nevada state title, where people are thinking, where does this lead? And it's like, so hopefully that's building the anticipation for what happens as a result of this story being told. And it's not taking unnecessary risks. It's just telling a good story to get your point across, where fans are now going, I'm intrigued. What's going to happen next? I can't wait to see it.
Well, I feel the table is the greatest invention of all time, as long as you take that metal piece or the rubber aspect around it, because that thing breaks your fall. I was uninterested in you choke slamming me back in the day into the center of the ring, but I was very interested and very willing to let you choke slam me through a table. because of the two differences going up for that high school bump. Any type of bump, actually, if you land through that table right, just completely braces, breaks and braces your fall. We talk about that. I think my worst injury was the shattered tailbone, and I was supposed to be out for 6 months. I didn't even get surgery, and I believe I came back 4 months after that because the doctor said, as long as you don't land on your lower back, you'll be fine. And I was like, well, that's why I popped my hips, motherfucker. And I think I went to CCW at the fucking some fairgrounds by like Dublin or something, and they had an 8-man tournament, and I wrestled Choopy in the first round. I don't remember if I moved on or if it was just Choopy. That was one of the times I wrestled him. Many times I wrestled him, and I made it through that match bumping without landing on my lower back. So that was when Cafu, the Brazilian Beast, didn't catch me. It's like I used to run and dive out of the ring, and everybody that was my size or smaller would catch me. And this night at Gym Wars, this guy just decided that he was gonna sidestep me and kind of at my body on the way by. And I remember finishing that match. And the worst part about finishing that match was I somehow climbed to the top rope to hit him with the frog splash, where he was not in the center of the ring. He was over by the rope. So I'm like, this motherfucker, you know what I mean? And then I go for it. And as I jump up to hit him with it with a broken tailbone, my left arm catches the top rope, yanks down on the middle rope, bottom rope. And but I got him back when we were in Portugal. We were roommates. And one night we came back really drunk, and I ended up with a Portuguese hyena in our room, and I locked him outside of that room. So for about 20 minutes, he banged on, PT, let me in the room, PT. I'll break the door down. And I'm in here like, go for it, fuck stick. You know what I mean? But he never broke the actual door down. Great times. But the injuries, man, one that really I look at is the biggest one is I don't know if you ever watched or remember, he's been training the last 2 months, which is incredible, and he's about to come back. But do you remember anything about there was Rayshawn Prince, and along with Rayshawn came Jesse Garcia. And Garcia's been out almost 2 years now because he blew out his knee. His whole ACL, everything, just blew his knee out at a 10-year-old nephew's birthday party at a trampoline park. Someone must have short hopped him or something. I don't know. But he's had 2 knee surgeries because the first one didn't go well. First one was done in Oroville. Wink, wink. Probably I said that to him as they were wheeling him back. I was at the hospital. I was at both hospitals, but I was like, you sure you want to let him cut you open in Oroville? You know what I mean? And sure enough, they left something on the knee, so he had to get another surgery. So here's a guy who got injured a few days before me and him, him and I were supposed to wrestle at an Extreme Measures, a big show. And he's been out 2 years with 2 knee surgeries and 2 different rehabilitation. And he's young. And as we're training and he's working the knee back to come back, I'm noticing like, you were a big Roman Reigns fan. Maybe you should alter your style to more of a Roman Reigns style and not the moonsaults and frog splashes and stuff like that, because you don't need to do this stuff. Seth Rollins looked great flying through the air with a diving coast-to-coast headbutt, but then he just bounced off the doing all that distance and height on his arm. And our shoulders, man, especially as we get older, these things pop out of socket. You know what I mean? They do that. Our heads hit the ground. We get concussions. Our backs, our knees, as we put time in this business. So I just felt like I wanted to know about your injury, but I also see so many injuries, not just on the big time, but I see so many injuries local because we're dealing with situations here too, where a lot of these guys, even if they get trained, they're not getting the proper education. They're not getting the training that they need from guys with the proper experience to give it to them.
Yeah, you gotta think about. Do you remember when the Scoot Robertson diving out of the ring thing happened, and how how upset you were about the that you would take a risk like that. Like I remember, I was there. I remember it was like an anniversary show.
Yeah.
Scoot Robertson like tried to frog splash somebody or something from the top rope to the fucking outside and
on the
fucked
apron.
himself up like royally.
Broke his pelvis.
It was on the apron. I thought it was on the floor, but yeah, right. Yeah, so that was the
Broke
one.
his fucking pelvis.
But it was just like right. So and that was one of those cases where like you know it's so important for the storyline to go on. He wasn't even worried about that he hurt himself. He was just like, what do I do about the storyline thing? And I've fallen into that trap as well. I was wrestling Bobby Hart. Bobby Hart was the SPW champion. And on the first thing, I think he like fucking missile drop kicked me or something and broke his wrist. And that was like, for some reason, like I remember my fucking working in the backyard and pulling all types of shenanigans because I knew all the fucking rules. You know, I knew if I was the champ, you know, if I got counted out, I don't lose the belt. Like all these different things. I know all the fucking rules, but for some reason in this situation, I was like, what do I do? Right? I'm not supposed to win this match. What do I do? You know? So I don't know, man. We got into a situation where it's like just you don't want to beat the champ because he's still supposed to be the champ and blah blah. You don't pivot for some reason in the event of somebody getting injured, and but you see it so many times in the big leagues that they pivot, they make a call on the fly. But I also know that there's earpieces and there's all types of shit going on where you can make a call on the fly. Things like that. But yeah, that was one of the ones that I think about in recent memory, the Scoot Robertson breaking his pelvis, taking an unnecessary risk.
Well, in that case, right, like what I think, okay, I'm going to say what I think. Boom. I feel like if you are the champion and you break your wrist or your ankle, leg, whatever, and you can't continue, I feel like they need to stop the match because of that. Not award your opponent the championship, but the match needs to be stopped. We need to get, if there's a stretcher available, bring the stretcher out. If not, help this man to the back. And that needs to become a storyline. Kind of like what we did with Sergio down in Red Bluff when Illuminate wasn't there and we whipped up that contract. Because you don't have to shift the title, but what it does to the challenger, especially if the challenger's a heel, is he comes out and he says, hey, he couldn't continue the match. I should be the champion. I award me the belt. And even if you award him the belt and that's your decision, he's going to get a lot of heat from that. And that baby face, when he comes back from injury, is going to be an even bigger baby face, other baby faces that will be able to step up and move up the card. And that's what we always talk about is how do we get these cards over? One thing when we were talking about your company when we started, I said, hey, it's rebuilding, right? Like this is a rebuild. It's everything. We're rebuilding this. It's all new everything. So the first thing you have to do is establish your wrestlers. You have to establish your good guys and your bad guys. And I've heard so many companies go, "Oh, they're a little heel heavy." Right? Like a little heel. Everything's not evenly distributed, babies and heels. We need some babies over here. Well, that's why you got heels. So heels can create babies. If you have 8 baby faces and 8 heels, you can only accommodate 8 baby faces. But if you have 16 heels and 8 baby faces, then these baby faces are going to be staying busy throughout the year, and they're going to be this guy puts a baby over, then this guy moves over here, and then the baby moves up over here and gets over on another heel. We need a lot of heels. We do need heels because heels are the antagonists, and that's what the fans, that's who they boo. And the heel makes the baby face. So if we have an even amount of heels and baby faces, all you have is just 8 heels, 8 baby faces. That's it.
Right.
You need a mismatch number in this. But so many people are just running just a show that they're like, okay, I need 8 matches. I need 16 guys. I need 8 heels, 8 babies. And then they put 2 fucking babies out there and they think that it's like, we have 2 baby faces out here. And the 2 baby faces are equally liked by the audience. So just go. No, someone's going to be the aggressor. Someone is going to make a mistake in a baby match. And the person that makes the mistake, or the person that the guy who's not getting the most cheered, who's not getting the most applause and reaction positively from the fans, is going to become the aggressor, so that the other baby versus, you know what? I'll cut it right here. Go back and listen to some fucking podcasts. Hit some subscribe buttons. Lift us past that shitty 287 marker. But you got to have an abundance of heels. And good heels too, man. You got to have some good heels. Because if you got a shitty heel, it don't matter how good the baby is. And if you got a good, you know what I mean? And if you got a great baby, vice versa. But we got to have an abundance of bad guys, because they're slipping on the banana peel and they're essentially building baby faces. And baby faces are what is going to, we put on the flyer and they sell the product. And they don't got to be the white meat, corny ass baby face, but a good heel is going to create 2 or 3 baby faces for your company at different levels of the card.
Right, exactly. And I think that there's an entire podcast about babyface and heel, building that type of dynamic and things like that. So I think that that's great advice. Go back, find the podcast about baby faces and heels, and take a listen to it. Yeah, so take some notes. Yeah, exactly. Do those things, man. But yeah, I mean, we are getting into that situation now where built it into the end of the year, trying to carry over storylines into next year, making people care about it. So I was asked some questions about that. We don't have a December show here, so we'll skip December and then we'll go into January. So talk about how that is going to potentially create a great situation for getting started in the new year, and creating some stuff where you can build on over the next couple of months here, or how that's going to be a huge disadvantage and you're going to have to restart the whole promotion as of January, moving into next year here.
Absolutely not. Not at all. I know that we say Thanksgiving and Christmas are, don't do it because it's Thanksgiving, Christmas. We went to Red Bluff and ran our first show in the very first show we did in Red Bluff was called Christmas Clash, and we ran it the first weekend of December. And I feel like if you run during those holiday seasons, if you run the first 2 weeks of both of those months, especially the first weekend, you can draw very well. To be honest with you, I think Thanksgiving is a great time to run because it's Black Friday. And if you ever notice, like with Christmas and with Thanksgiving, the day after those events, after you eat all your turkey and shit and watch your football, the next day, family's still here and there's nothing going on. They're bored as shit. And Christmas is the same way. Here's Christmas Eve. Here's Christmas. And then after Christmas, everyone opens their presents and their stockings in the morning, and no stores are open, and they're just sitting around being fucking bored as fuck. It's like if there was a wrestling show that next day, a Friday, it's usually on a Thursday, a Friday or a Saturday, that the families that are in town can go to. A lot of people don't realize Christmas, you get gift cards. You get money. You get those Visa credit card gift cards. So holidays are actually a great time to run, but in no means you know, like in your guys' case, you got this show. You got November, I believe it's 15th in Boomtown, right? The 15th. Yep. So you're around that. If you take December off, nobody gives a shit. What December does is it gives you a chance to reload. Yeah, get your flyers ready, get your posters, your tickets, get a game plan, and really focus. That's why our event's called Kickstart. You know, it's called Kickstart because we're kicking off the year. And I want to kick off the year in Red Bluff. And then the next month, let's give them that big fucking rumble we've been giving them for 26 years and send them to extreme measures. So you want to start your year off hot, but you want to, you're ending your year in Urington and Boomtown. Two venues that you haven't ran. One's an hour away from your home base. The other's fucking 20 minutes away from your home base. So you are in a good position right now that the audience is going to be chomping at the bit, as we say. When is January? What do you got? Like, do you guys have your date yet for January?
It is the 17th.
Okay. So January 17th. And then did you ever figure out when we're heading back to Carson City?
I have not, but I have I got the list of dates that we're going to run, and we're just going to plug in the Carson City one on one of those dates.
Carson City's hot, man. That's what you can smell a good venue in a good town a mile away. When I first showed up there, I was like, oh, they're only using half the building. They got that little drape thing in the middle. I didn't know how it was going to go. And then I looked out there and I was like, there's probably 5,000 people for 2 miles down at this park connected to this community center or municipal building. And we sent Cedric out that way. And I was impressed. He came back with ticket sales. He came back with pickles. He came back with jerky. You know what I mean? Like, he went out there and did a little bit of business in that 30 minutes. But yeah, Carson City's hot. But closing out the year, like, I'm excited about this weekend because when I think of Urington, I think of just a little podunk hick town that Larry's from. You know what I mean?
Right.
Welcome to Urington. Get up to Urington. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's always exciting to do a new town, but no risk at all. No risk. Not for a month. I feel like if you're just running out of, like, if your walls are closed in on you, like, no offense, guys, but APW a lot of times just ran gym wars and they could not extend their wall. They could raise their door, but they could not extend their walls. East Bay Pro cannot extend their walls. You know what I mean? You know, SPW has the option of using a smaller soccer field or a bigger soccer field. But unless they're traveling around putting their ring up at other places for free shows, libraries, bowling alleys, parks, stuff like that, they're inside that building. So you got something good going on because you're Carson City, Urington, Nevada, Winnemucca, Sparks, now Boomtown right there before you. So you're running like 5 different locations. You know what I mean? So you're not in any trouble at all if you took 1 month off at all.
Absolutely. Well, that's good to hear, man. It's a good confidence booster. We had been taking off December and January. We tried to decide not to do that this year and try to get the new year, fired up correctly. And hopefully the Boomtown show is going to be, a big deal and going to lead into a lot of anticipation for what happens the following year. So excited for that moving forward. But yeah, man, I'm just excited for, I had somebody asking me yesterday about what's going on moving forward. And I said, you tell me, man, what do you remember from the last show? What stands out to you? What matches do you think would happen as a result from last month? So I feel like this is something that that you and I talk about all the time that I'm not putting enough effort or I don't know. Like I guess this in my mind, I'm not in the storyline as much as I should be. I'm not trying to create story arcs, and I feel like we've talked about that, at length on podcasts in the past, and I talk about building long-term story arcs, but I'm not physically in my mind. I'm not doing it enough. I don't think so. It was a reminder having a conversation about what do you remember from last show? What happened? It's like, oh, well, Jeffrey Excellence lost the belt. And I said, okay. And how did that happen? What was the cause of it? It's like, oh, well, Primetime screwed him over and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. So do you think that would mean that Jeffrey Excellence would have a problem or would want to beat up Primetime? I was like, well, yeah, I think so. Okay. Is there anyone else that you think would want to kick Primetime's ass? It's like, oh, well, let me think. And then I sent him the clip that was of the big boot, go for the choke slam, evade, grab the other guy, choke slam him, check on the baby face, get blasted with a chair, Illuminate makes a save. It's like, what do you think about this clip? It's like, okay, yeah. Then in return, I was sent the clip of you super kicking Jeffrey Excellence. It's like, oh, this guy should want to tear Primetime's head off. And I said, okay, so now you're understanding, and in turn, now I'm understanding where we're going, what we should be doing, how we should be building storylines moving forward. What's going to make the fans care? What's going to make them go, what's going to happen next? What's going to build anticipation? Things like that. So I feel like many times teaching someone about something that you have knowledge about also helps you learn yourself in, oh, if I'm, obviously my thing is basketball, right? If I'm showing someone how to do something, it's also helping me learn how to do that thing better by having to break it down maybe into more steps than I'm used to. And the same with this. Instead of just going, these are the matches that are going to happen at the next show, taking a step back and going, this is the reason that these matches are going to happen at the next show, and breaking it down into little pieces like that to help, in my mind, give me ideas of how to, make storylines last a little bit longer and why they mean something and things like that. So, what is that?
I'm just saying three. There's three potential top baby faces with good size, great physiques. There's three baby faces right now that should want to kick the shit out of Zack Reeb. There's one championship on a big guy that two potential baby faces right now coming up the ladder should want to get. At the end of the day, there is a young, talented wrestler underneath Zack Reeb that could potentially either be the biggest baby face in the company or could be the biggest young heel coming up in the company that could take a belt and hold on to it until the next baby face is ready to be built. Because I always tell people this. People are like, man, I almost started a riot as a heel, right? And I say there's two types of heels, okay? And I don't know if you ever heard this before. A lot of stuff that I come up with as I learn podcasts, I'm getting smarter. Not just this podcast, but I'm always got these on. I'm always listening. So there's the type of heel that can get you over, and then there's the type of heel that can make you. You know what I mean? Right. Like Sergio Santana he's gonna get a lot of heat, and he can get you over. He can get the eyes on you and get that attention. What I really enjoy, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but what I really enjoy about what I'm doing right now, whatever, because it's a lot of fun, is I'm able to make somebody. I'm making the talent by not even worrying about myself at all. I'll slip on every fucking banana peel that you throw in front of me. If this is Mario Kart, I'm the worst driver and I'm never really winning because I'm hitting and I'm spinning out every time. But I always find a way to just slither away and come back to just poke the bear over and over and over again. And it happened kind of quick the way that happened. So like, just for you young guys out there, just remember there's the heel that's going to get you over, and then there's the heel that's going to make you. So, and they're both very good to the growth of your company. That heel that's going to get you over, that's somebody that you want early in the card that's going to build up some mid-card to some semi-main event guys along the way. But once they get to mid-card, semi-main event, you need to have heels in place that can elevate that baby face now, because it's a process. You know, Sergio, I like to use an example, the old Ricky Henderson. He's going to take these new guys that are coming in, and that's kind of what I started out doing down there for you, was, you know, the Dickie Dakins, going there with Alex Ace, going there with Nick Nitrain, going there with Preston Price, going there with Cole Wright. But and that became a gimmick. That became the veteran wrestler coming out here going, hey, I don't even know this guy. I don't even know this referee. What the hell? Why is this guy so old? Who's this? You know, so this, man, it's so important to establish characters. Like me and you. So the finish we did down there with you, and then the finish we almost did was almost virtually the same down here, were two completely different finishes because they were in different companies. It was different personalities. It was different characters. No human being is ever going to be the same. Even if you're twins, we talked about this. That's what makes wrestling so special. You know, Jeffrey Excellence is a night and day different size, weight, character, personality than Sin. You know what I mean? Like, it's never gonna it's never gonna get old, because even if you copied what I did verbatim, your mind doesn't think like my mind. Your mind is your own mind, and everyone's out here going, I want to be original. Well, you're gonna be original if you use your own mind, because nobody else has your mind. And that's where this becomes easy and that's what I learned from my trainer. Just think about it, right? Think about, that's all I'm doing when I'm doing this stuff, is I'm going, okay, how do we get, can we get something? Can we get more out of this? Can we take it another show? Oh, they like that. Oh, we should fuck. After that last show, I was like, dude, slow it down. Because we got them. We gave them. We fed them, and we finally gave them some story, right? And they fucking loved it. So now it's like, now let's tell it. You know what I mean? Now let's tell the story, because we got them. So why would we conclude the story? Why would we give them what they want? No, now we've got them hooked into what we did. So now we got to go, all right, now we have all the pieces. We have developed all the characters. We have the plot. We have the motivation. We have the who, the what, the where, the when. And now all we, and they even know what the motivation is. So they know what the why is. Now we've already given them those elements. So now guess what time it is? It's time to tell the story. And there's so many different ways. There's Jeffrey. There's Illumide. They both want the championship. Bad News has the championship. I'm with Bad News. Both those guys, in turn, especially Jeffrey, want to kick my ass. Illumide wants to get his hands on me. You definitely want to get your hands on me. But guess what? Illumide also wants the championship back, which now creates another matchup scenario, because Jeffrey wants the championship back. So there's a reason to have a baby versus a baby match right there. Like, there's so many different scenarios. You choke slam Cole Wright. He took the bullet for me. So now we both want to get back at you because this kid stood up for me and took the bullet. So I feel like I owe him one. I feel like I owe him one. But then in turn, this kid, I could help this kid beat you. Like there's just in like 5 or 6 characters and what we did, there's so much to play with now for a long time, for a very long time. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Sorry on my rant.
No, that's I think something that's special about this podcast is that we do those things. We do go on rants. We try to make our point, and we try to get those things across. Where, and like I said, I think that's helpful for me trying to understand how to stretch out the storyline and why different. Like now you have all these people that have a reason that they want to kick somebody else's ass, right? So, in creating that stuff, I think it's so important. When you have a couple of story arcs throughout the show, then you have reasons for maybe the fans have no interest in the championship scenario, but they're interested in something else, right? They enjoy watching Scotty Ringer, or they enjoy watching Kate Adams or something like that. Like they're there for something else. So if you can give them a lot of different options, we talk about ice cream all the time relating to pro wrestling. It's like, maybe this situation isn't my favorite flavor, but this is what I really sink my teeth into, and I really enjoy watching these guys. I think we made the comment between us about the how Illumine is such a huge star and a great attraction and things like that, and but not everyone is into that specifically. So what might be your what you're interested in is maybe not what I'm interested in. Maybe you have people that are love to see the Haas fight type thing, and it's the Sin versus Blakesley scenario at your show is really up their alley, right? I want to see 2 big guys go at it and things like that. So you definitely have a little bit of everything, right? You have amateur wrestling, you have comedy, you have hard hitting stuff, you have a lot of different things, and I think it kind of touches on a lot of different people's what they like the best. So having a little bit of variety is always important when you're putting together a show.
In the same sense, you could pair Illumine up with Excellence. They could beat RC and Dawn for the tag team championships. And RC and Dawn could come back and beat them back for the championships because of another reason. And you're elevating the belts and you're elevating some more heels. You could put me and Cole together and we could take out Dickie and Reno. You know what I mean? Like we could put them over, but then come back. There's so many different elements that you can do. One of the things that really blew my mind was Illumine is over. He's over, but then when he's not on a couple of my shows and we strap up Sergio, because we're like, we got to get this thing off him anyway. So where are we going to go? Oh, here's this guy. He's perfect for it right now. He's white hot as a bad guy. Let's try it out. And then Illumine is not at a couple shows. It's not that the fans don't like him, but they were just so entertained by something else. And these are 2 different athletes. These are 2 different body types. And one guy's short and fat and stubby, you know what I mean, with the lisp. And the other guy's this thoroughbred track star with an 8-pack at 6'4". But it doesn't really matter. And that's the honest to God's truth. Like WWE cosmetics, right? We like our guys to look like, because we're selling action figures. We're doing this. But I just watched The Task, and I'm watching Tulsa King and The Landman. I love these shows on Prime. There's no fucking guys running around with their shirts off, fucking 250 pounds, oiled up and tanned on there. They're just normal sized people. Shit. if you're a big guy in AEW, they don't even push you fucking anyways. You know what I mean? Because they're like, what do we do with this big guy? We don't know what to do with him. I can't hit this guy with a fucking tequila sunrise or a Canadian destroyer. I can't hit him with the fucking dead eye because I can't pick him up. We'll figure out something to do with them, right? Like, because, you know, guys your size, guys Alex Ace's size, Jesus Christ, Ace, come on, get it together. And guys like Bad News Blakesley size, you guys are special. A guy like Illumine is special. There's things that he has to do. He's got to up his promo game. You know, no knock. I love Illumine, man. I debuted for us 4 or 5 fucking years ago. Love the guy. Amazing dude. But his promo game isn't where it should be. So my best advice to him would be go find somebody who's good at a promo. Go take an acting class. Go do something. Get with somebody who's going to push you to be better at this thing that you're going to have to be a star. I hate to tell everybody this out there. A good wrestling match without a story is something that only you're going to remember. And that's the truth. There might be a couple Japanese smart wrestling fans out there and some guys that are sitting at their house beating off over wrestling online, like, oh my God, the low-key Bryan Danielson from King of Indies in 2001 had my wiener rock hard poking through my warm-up pants, my Nike Elites. But nobody remembers that shit because there's no story, there's no moment, there's no memory, there's no cool thing that was said. There's Rick Luxury call. There's not that. So that's when people say, hey, do you remember this? No, I don't remember that because I don't fucking remember why it even happened. And I'm not going back to watch a wrestling match. I think the last time I went back to watch a wrestling match that didn't have a story was Living Dangerously, Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn. And that's because I was a 17-year-old fucking mark getting in the wrestling business. And I wanted to see how Rob Van Dam took that tornado DDT off the top of his head and fucking bounced up, you know. But I also wanted to watch the tables, ladders, and chairs matches. And I thought that's how I was supposed to break into the business. I used to laugh at the guys selling the tickets at the big shows on the indies because I was out there killing myself. And I'd go in the locker room with Rick and guys and go, that guy didn't even take a bump tonight, dude. Like, I bumped off. I took a sit-out power bomb off the top rope through the table, man. That guy's too old. And they're drawing the house, brother.
That's exactly right, man. That's just this is the things that we learn as we get older in our career. And, you know, it gets back to what we talk about every single episode, and that is telling a story, right? It isn't about all the moves, man. This is about the storytelling and how can you get the fans involved, right? How can you get them hooked in and anticipating what might happen next, you know? And it goes back to the things that I mentioned a lot about, you know, when I was watching wrestling as a kid and the cliffhanger stuff. You know, oh, well, that's all the time we've got this week, folks. You know, check back with us next week to see how this match finished up, right? So you're just like, shit, you know, you have to watch the next week because I have to know, you know, who won and what happened and all this different stuff. So, you know, trying to set up that type of stuff where fans go, I wonder what's going to happen next. Is how you draw those houses. It's not because you took a pile driver off the apron to the floor, you know? So, yeah. So I don't know, man. I think it's just, you know, I think there's definitely a part of different fans that get excited for those flashy special moves. But when they happen in every single match, they become so much less special and exciting, you know, because you see it 100 times every show. And we talk about in the past about kicking out of someone's finish, right? How that never used to happen, right? You say, oh, this guy just hit his finish. That's the end of the match. And then, you know, when it came to the pay-per-view time And every once in a while, somebody kicked out of someone else's finish, it became special, right? But now when everybody kicks out of everyone else's finish, it just loses the specialness that it used to have. So I don't know, man. It's difficult when everyone wants to do every move instead of, hey, how can we tell a compelling story to get these fans to want to come back and watch?
Well, you're 100% right there, Paul. But the reason there's the kickouts is something's on the line. My career's on the line. Oh my God, he kicked out of that finishing move. Not because he would have normally, but because his career was on the line. Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, they're kicking out of everything at WrestleMania 25, right? But this is the Undertaker. And this is the Heartbreak Kid. And that's how people said it. They said it like that, like, oh, it's the Undertaker, it's Heartbreak Kid. But in reality, they for 20-something years, they went from the bottom to the top of this number one organization, right? So what was the story of Shawn Michaels his entire career? That he's resilient, that he can take more punishment than anybody else, and he finds a way to kick out. He has reserves in his tank, and the Undertaker is this ungodly character that he's hard to hurt and all this stuff. So here they are at WrestleMania 25. The streak's on the line. Shawn wants it. Of course they're going to fucking kick out of their big moves. Tombstone. Oh, 25 minutes into the match. It wasn't like Undertaker hit him with the tombstone fucking 2 minutes into the contest. Those punches in the fight now don't have as much oomph behind him. Oh my God, I caught him. Tombstone. 1, 2. He barely kicks. I can't believe he kicked out. You're right. I can't believe he kicked out, but I can because he didn't have enough. He didn't have enough grip. He didn't bring him up high enough. He didn't jump high. He didn't have it. He's fatigued. He's fucking standing there at the end like this. Just at the start of the match, he's hunting him down, swinging at him. Michaels is hitting him fresh and running away. At the end of the match, they're like, the perfect story. They're like, oh, he fucked up jumping over the cameraman. No, the story of selling. That's what the match was. The fatigue, quicker kickouts. The selling got deeper. It slowed down. It turned into a fucking like you were just like, fuck, I don't know who's going to win because I love Michael. That's Michaels. That's Taker. What the fuck? That's why Angle Benoit was so great. Because Angle's he's out there with fucking Benjamin and Haas too. He's got the fucking guys behind him. But that's why the kickouts aren't supposed to happen in every fucking match. They're happening because there's something that is driving the competitor to do this. Oh my God, the move. What? They're like, I didn't like that Seth Rollins kicked out of Cody's fucking whatever the fuck move he does. The Rhodes dropper or whatever they call it. Victory Road. I don't know what it's fucking called. But he did it. Crossroads. He did it from the top rope and Rollins kicked out. And everyone's like, that was too much. He shouldn't have. No, he should have. Because if he doesn't beat this guy, Paul Heyman says you lose the locker room. You lose Bronson Reed. You lose Braun Breaker. And importantly, I start to question why I left Roman Reigns and CM Punk to go with you. And he's going, I'm 0-for-3 against Cody. I have to win. So yes, boom. He gets hit with a move no one's ever seen. Slips the shoulder because he has to. It's not they're overkilling anything. It's the story. He has to kick out of this. And Cody's going, what the fuck do I do now? Well, you beat him 3 times before. You're a 2-time champion. He hasn't won that belt in a long time. You're right. He has to kick out. He has to tell that story because the story requires it, man. But everyone else is just like, fucking 180, 360 tombstoner on the fucking metal on the side apron. roll him back in the ring. It's just a cool down spot. 5 minutes have elapsed, Paul. 5 minutes have elapsed.
Well, 5 minutes remaining, not elapsed.
Oh, yeah, remaining.
5 minutes remaining.
Paul choke slams Zack off the top rope onto the fucking side apron. And then now we're duking it out on the fucking floor. No, call the fucking paramedics. Cart me out of here. I'm done. Big Paul wins this war. He wins this fight.
Right, exactly. Well, and I think that's, I mean, it just leans right back into the storytelling aspect, you know, and we've talked about this when we're breaking down matches in the past of why something is more devastating than something else. And, you know, and then now you're digging into the meaning, like, oh, I have to win this match, the stakes, all those different things. So, you know, that has to tie into the matches as well. It can't just be a cool match and a cool spot that you kicked out of. You know, it has to mean something. It has to, you know, tell a story. It has to lead to something down the road or tie back to something in the past. You know, you're talking about not beating a guy 3 times in a row, and now the stakes are so high that you just have to figure out a way to, you know, to be victorious. So, you know, those things all tie in to what we're trying to accomplish, you know, and I think, you know, we talk about this all the time about how the storytelling is one of the most important aspects of wrestling, you know, and people just don't quite understand why that is. And, you know, well, I just want to do these, you know, this cool sequence, or I want to do these cool moves or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's great, man. You know, you're showing off your athleticism. You are, as a smaller guy, picking up a bigger guy and giving them a move that maybe doesn't make sense. You know, the storytelling just isn't where it's supposed to be. So, you know, trying to get back to, you know, that aspect that, you know, the business that we watched, the things that we watched as kids, and the storytelling that was done. You know, I think about, you know, I thought the Hulk Hogan Iron Sheik match back in the day must have been 10, 12 minutes long. And then you go watch it right now and you realize, yeah, I thought it was like 3 or 4 minutes or something. It's like, somehow Hulk Hogan beats Iron Sheik for the title, and it's 3 or 4 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it was. You know,
and Hogan attacked him,
right?
What? And you know why? Not because he wasn't a good guy, but because here's this fucking Iranian Sheik, and America's in a war with him. Why would I get in the ring with this Iranian Sheik and turn my back on him? No, I'm gonna jump. I'm going after him.
Right.
They think that's not very baby face like of you. Oh, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, God, it just pisses me off because wrestling is not as popular as it was. You know why the Attitude Era was so cool? Because there was characters and story. You know why it was so popular? Why we got into it? Because there were characters and story. Every time pro wrestling has dwindled down and not become as popular is because there's not as good of characters and stories. Fuck, wrestling was hot there for a while. Bloodline's gone. Roman takes a break, finally loses. That saved SmackDown. That story did for a long time. That story's done. Wrestling kind of got hot again. They brought The Rock around. We were kind of into the Cody thing. Some people were getting cool. Now we're looking around going, what? It's dulling, you know. So the story, number one thing. If you don't got developed characters, and you don't have a fucking, and you don't even, and it's not like you got to write a fucking best-selling fucking Academy Award-winning movie here. You just gotta fucking tell a fucking story they can understand and get behind.
Exactly. Well, I'm looking forward to 3 days from now. This episode's going to drop on Friday, so it will be tomorrow that the show is happening in Yerington at that point. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing what happens with the new fans and how many people from Reno, Sparks travel that direction. You know, and inevitably, what we're trying to do is, we're just trying to go over, man.